to work. Then she simply ran to her room, picking up her notebook. She remembered that her father gave her the notebook, and he gave Rayon a sword with jewelry. Larry remembered Rayon boasting that during his trip to the West, his skin was tanned, the water was good, the people were good. Sad Larry thought she had never been on a trip before. The injustice was off the charts. She remembered being isolated from her family, wondering why she couldn't do what she wanted even before she died. The reason she wanted to date so much was because she wanted to take at least some happy memories with her. It's not that bad, but it's a burden for Asher. But he didn't express hostility when he was with her, the eyes with which he looked at her when watching the play. Definitely making things harder, she should try to do something about it. Larry felt a little lonely. Doha was handed over again, and his subordinate said that recently he often wears the clothes of low-level priests. Joshua said this. Joshua said that a person with amazing advancement in status and divine power should not dress like that. But Doha interrupted him. He said that everyone wore this exact outfit, and Joshua again asked if he was going to meet that sorceress again. Then Joshua began to whine that he had heard that she served Duke Kandel, and if his identity was revealed, it would be a real disgrace for the church. He asked if they couldn't just bring them to the temple of Altion, who would refuse to serve the next pope. Doha replied that he was a simple man and went out. Joshua thought he had a terrible character, but if he was not interested, then there was no question. Doha himself knew that Larietta, the eldest daughter of the Duke of Blanche, the bride of the Marquis of Segre, whose recent actions were very alarming, also had excellent healing abilities and a huge supply of mana. It is clear that she is a purification sorceress by the way she is attached to Duke Kandel, who longs to be cleansed of the curse. Of course, Duke Kandel will not spare money on a purification magician, and Larry, in turn, is in love with the Duke. Getting into the carriage, he thought that it would not be so easy to make her his healing magician, and flirting when the relationship is shallow is somehow awkward. He decided that he needed to try to do it on his own, especially since he also really likes her, but he didn't know how to seduce her. Before reaching the estate, Larry opened the carriage doors and loudly asked if he had time today. She quickly got into the carriage. Doha was still in shock, and Larry asked him to spend time with her to eat and shop. Larry nevertheless decided to carry out the jealousy operation for the sake of her relationship with Asher. Doha was a little surprised, but after a moment of silence, he still gave his positive answer. He decided that now he would definitely seduce her by inviting her on a date under the pretext of an operation. But something happened that he did not expect. The hero of that celebration was Larry. He thought why Larry was holding his hand while running away. As for how this happened, let's go back in time to 10 minutes ago. The guys were waiting for their dessert, and Doha was complaining that it was taking longer than usual. Larry replied that dessert needed extra time and asked if he liked desserts, and Doha replied that he liked sweets. Larry then asked why he was being treated by her. He replied that he usually tries not to get hurt, but in fact they were forced. He lied that the high priest ordered them to be treated outside the temple, and Larry told him not to worry, and if his boss bothered him, she would avenge him. Doha thought that his divine power was enormous, but he had the same amount of mana, and she had no idea how great his power was. He wondered how far his interest would go. Larry said that she could burn his clothes in front of people. Larry said that he could just tell her, and she would do whatever she could. Doha was surprised that she could also use elemental magic. He hoped that nothing would happen from his words that turned the temple into an enemy. Besides, they were just words. While they were walking, she noticed a piece of jewelry in the window and thought it would suit Escher well. Apparently, she was staring at this decoration because when Doha asked her what she was looking at, Larry got scared. Then Larry replied that she had noticed the jewelry and would like to see the price. Doha said that he could wait for her here, and Larry quickly went into the store. But suddenly, someone pushed Doha and immediately asked if the lower reaper was going to apologize to the older one. It seems that not everyone knows what their high priest looks like. When Doka said that he shouldn't bother him and get out of here, the guy got angry and started shouting that he couldn't imagine such individuals who weren't afraid of their bosses. Doha was already wondering whether he should kill him, but too many eyes gathered, and he did not want to reveal his identity. Moreover, he can deal with him later, as he wants, so now he decided to simply apologize to him. But Doha did not have time to finish his apology when the priest's clothes suddenly caught fire. Larry then took Doha's hand and said that they should run away. Doha asked if she did it, and Larry replied that she promised him she would take revenge for him. Larry said she wouldn't give up if he got in trouble, and that made Doha laugh. And Larry said he was laughing like a real villain. How fitting she said it. Doha lowered his head onto Larry's shoulder and asked what he should do with her, and he himself thought that now he wants to have her completely. And Asher in his office was in despair when he found out that she had been walking around the city with the priest all day. He only realized that her friend was a man. The butler told him that if he continued in the same spirit, this could really develop into something more than friendship. He does not know what they have already come to and what their relationship can develop. Asher thought that even if they became lovers, it would have nothing to do with him. The sorceress is just the one who clears his curse. Talking about dating is not forever. Even though he thought so, it's clear from him that he doesn't believe in it. But he continued to convince that the sorceress just needed to clear his curse, and he should not expect anything. But Asher understood that he did not want to back down. Asher asked himself, who needs such a monster anyway? How he, the sorceress, sympathized with him and consoled him, but there was no need to hesitate. Later, Larry and Asher met for lunch, and Larry asked why he suddenly called her, because it seemed the Duke was busy, and Asher replied that he decided that he wanted to talk to her after a long break. Although Larry tried to sit with a serious face, inside she was jubilant that the jealousy strategy seemed to have worked. And his face is simply amazing. You can conquer the whole universe with such beauty, Larry thought. He suddenly surprised her by asking how she was doing, while she was clearing away the cucumbers and her plate, and answered that she was spending time with a friend. Larry was hoping he'd be jealous since she'd been hanging out with another guy all day, but he just said okay. And then Larry tried to get him to show some kind of reaction, and said that Doha would arrive this afternoon, and they would be in her room, and Asher said that he didn't care. Not getting the reaction she was hoping for, Larry decided to use her charm, and looked at him, and asked if he would be jealous of her. Of course, her sweet charm impressed him, and he blushed, but he still lied that he wasn't jealous. The main thing was that she wouldn't be distracted from his treatment. This, of course, made Larry very upset, and when she got up, she said that she had no appetite and would leave first, and that they would see each other next time at the cleansing process. In her room, there was already Doka, who smiled slyly in secret after learning that the strategy of jealousy did not work for the Duke. He thought that this cold-blooded one would still envy him. Doha sat down next to her and told her not to be upset, but he himself thought that now he just needs to seduce her and make her his man. Larry, a naive soul, thought that Doha came here for her sake, and here she was just crying about her problems. She just now noticed the glasses and said that they made him look like a librarian and that they suit him. Doha replied that he felt like he urgently needed to write something. What Doha is talking about now is prophecy, an ability that only the most eminent believers possess, and is also an important factor in choosing a pope. Doha's current state is a sign of such ability. Doha looked at her and asked if she liked this image. Larry, of course, replied that it suited him incredibly well, and then Doha pulled her towards him under the pretext of treatment. Meanwhile, the sad Asher was sitting in his office, and the butler continued to furiously glare at him. Then he finally vomited, and he said that the lady seemed offended, and if it ended like that, then he was in vain inviting her to breakfast, and you can't address a lady like that. Although it was the first time he ordered a change in food for outsiders, namely, he ordered the removal of cucumbers from the food for the sorceress. Asher must be experiencing emotional fluctuations since he was cursed to stay away from people. Therefore, it was difficult for him to feel emotions. The butler looked at him and hoped that he would be happy. That's why he told Asher that he needed to stop hiding his true feelings. And before leaving his office, he added that the priest had again arrived at the mansion and advised him to go and look at it. He told him not to think about anything else. Let him think only about his heart. This surprised Asher, and he began to think about how his heart felt. Asher thought that he shouldn't feel jealousy. He shouldn't feel anything like that, and he couldn't fall in love with someone. He remembered how that crazy woman killed herself and repeated that he would symbolize the torn flesh. The poor baby was horrified by this picture, and the woman continued that the smell of rotting corpses would soon fill the room and then stay with him forever. Since then, nothing has ever touched his heart. He still went to her room, and seeing how the priest was touching Larry, he quickly grabbed his hand. Asher didn't look happy. He menacingly told him not to touch her, and Doha removed his hands, thinking that it was a good thing he was wearing glasses, because Asher might recognize him. Larry became worried and began to say that Doha was different. He was just treating her, and Doha again put his hand on her shoulder, calming her down. Then he pulled her towards him, and Asher thought that no matter how you look at it, this is not just a friendly relationship. Doha's malicious smile only confirmed this, so Asher told him that he could be free, and Doha went out, thinking that the Duke was heartless. This only provoked Doha, who himself was not going to give up, in the battle for Larry's heart. After Doha left, Asher sat down next to Larry on her bed, and there was an awkward silence. Larry interrupted the silence, reminding her that he said that he was not jealous of her at all, and Asher himself understood that he was too emotional right now. He thought that when he imagined her kindness going to someone else, everything boiled inside him. But he didn't want her to hate him. He didn't want to hurt him. Asher wanted her to be his. He turned away from her and ignored his feelings. Suddenly, Larry asked if she could have a drink with Doha. Worried, Asher asked her not to do this, asked her not to leave. He only now realized what he felt for her. He told her that he had no idea his heart could beat so fast. His eyes are always on Larry, and he thinks about her, even if he doesn't want to. And thinking that she is now somewhere with another man, he wants to cut off his hand that was touching her. Finally, he admitted that if this is jealousy, then he admits it. He really is insanely jealous. Asher wanted to touch her, but didn't do it because he is a spoiled monster, and he is afraid to even touch her because he is afraid of harming her. He admitted that he felt as if he was lost. Moving a little hesitantly, he asked if the offer of a romantic relationship was still valid. Larry hugged him joyfully, answering that the offer was still valid, and Asher admitted to himself that he liked her, and Larry smiled brightly at him and said that she would look forward to their future relationship. All this was the first time for him, the experience of giving and receiving love. He cannot believe that such a moment has come for him. Both are in love but have different dreams. Larry was hoping to spend this 3 months with a twinkle, and Asher thought that he needs to renovate the garden because this is the house that Larry can live in for the rest of his life. She later showed him the diary with her plans, and when Asher asked what it was, Larry replied that it was something they should do together. He started flipping through her diary. There are so many things in it that he can't do because of his damn body. And as soon as he got to the beginning, Larry quickly closed these pages and said that there was nothing important on this page. He looked calm, but she almost lost her heart because he almost reached his wish list. She didn't want him to find out that his new girlfriend was terminally ill. After reading that the city tour was over, he was very upset and said that they seemed to have had a lot of fun. Larry began to explain that this was just a wish list, not a list of things she wanted to try with her boyfriend. But Asher, upset, said that then she didn't have to do it with him. Larry was amused by this, and then apologized because he is so cute when he is jealous. Asher was surprised that she thought he was cute. Then she used her charm again and said that she wanted to do it with her boyfriend. It worked, of course, and he said that he needed to get the carriage ready, and Larry jumped on him with a hug, saying that she liked Ash so much. They arrived at the best boutique in the Empire. Larry was pleased, because they went to the city together. How cute, she thought. Larry tried on clothes, but after all that she couldn't afford, she put on a beautiful dress and looked gorgeous. Asher was also impressed by her beauty, so much so that he could not tell her about it. Then Larry and the girl who worked there became worried because of his silence and showed him another dress. Asher replied that she did not need to choose because he would buy everything that she might like. As well as decorations that will attract her attention, Mr. Rich Mode is on. After shopping, they returned to the carriage, where they transferred all her purchases, of which there were quite a few. Then Larry asked why earlier he didn't answer her. When asked, Ash asked what she was talking about, and Larry again reminded that she asked if that dress suited her, and began poking at it. Asher turned away and embarrassedly answered beautifully, thinking that she was so beautiful that he had already forgotten. But Larry shouted that now it was too late. He insulted her and began to poke him more aggressively, saying that if she was beautiful, then he should have said it without delay. Asher couldn't stand the fact that she was poking at him so much, and grabbed her hands and admitted that she was really beautiful. And Larry replied, if this is true, then let him kiss her now, and pulled him towards her. But as soon as their lips met, the coachman shouted that they were there, and asked if he should carry all the luggage now. The kiss did not happen. And Asher was so embarrassed that he immediately ran out of the carriage, leaving Larry alone. A few days later, Larry was a little sad, thinking that after the unsuccessful kiss attempt, there was still no progress in their relationship. She came to eat with him, and he helped her